Betting on sports can be hard, but hiring Morgan & Morgan is easy. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets. This is a paid advertisement.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Good Wednesday morning to you. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. So many ways to take us in. We appreciate any way you choose. Thanks for making us part of your morning. It's Gill Alexander. It is Kelley Bydlon. Producer number 9, so much more than a producer. Kelley Bydlon, everybody, is how you correctly pronounce that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm still just laughing at our loving dysfunctional family that we have here at VSiN. The Dave Ross on his way out just spilling some coffee right as Gill's sitting down. It's like, there you go. And then just reminded of a Wes Reynolds classic of just spilling an entire cup 2 minutes before a show back in the South Point. Just the great stories and lore of VSiN history.
We shall survive. The liquid on the console, which was cleaned up by Dave also, we should point out.
Yes.
On the show today, a bevy of guests. Once again, a bevy of guests. Alex Kane, the CEO of Sport Trade, will join us, as will Jason Weingarten, to talk awards, the fallout for him from the awards given last night for Rookie of the Year, Skeens and Heel. We'll find out if Jason won anyway, as he said last time.
You know the best part about this today, the Jason coming on? Everybody's so excited about it. We're excited about it. Me and you have not had we haven't had more than 1 second of a discussion of if we're going to talk anything else with him besides this, because we expect this to take so much time up.
Well, I hope it doesn't, but Jason gets the going on that stuff, and he's that guy where he's upset, but he wants to act like he wants to say that he's not upset.
Right.
So listen, he's given us so many winners through the years. So sometimes they don't go your way. Tim Murray talking college football with us. Tim Murray, host of the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show, of course. We will discuss college football with him. All of that in the second hour. I buried the headlines of the first hour. JVT, our senior NBA analyst, will be here to talk with us. Some college hoops with Matt Cox. And Kelley and I deep diving into, and I'm looking forward to this, NFL fewest wins. Fewest wins, baby.
This market is so jumbled, Gill.
I love it.
Like, it's almost like Coach of the Year, right? Where you're like, there's a lot of people that could win this thing, but I think I found what I like.
I think I found what I like. Here, before we get to it, here are your candidates. The Chicago Bears, 4-6. The 3-7 Panthers and Cowboys. The 3-8 Patriots and Jets. The 2-8 Giants, Raiders, Browns, and Titans. And the 2-9 Jaguars. Those are your candidates. We'll get to it coming up. First, last night in the National Basketball Association Emirates NBA Cup. You've caught the fever already? I'm going to ask you, what's a bigger deal from last night? Here are your choices. You ready? Third choice, hint, this is not the biggest deal. Russell Westbrook with 200th career triple-double. How about that? Russell Westbrook, 200 career triple-double.
Yeah, he's. I have a feeling he's going to go down in history as one of the more underappreciated players in the NBA history for what he's done statistically, because it is pretty incredible. But what's next?
By the way, Jokic will soar past that in due time, within a few years at current pace, and then Luka will probably get there as well. Choice number 2, Dalton Knecht, baby. Who before the last NCAA tournament, before last March Madness, I was like, I feel like a Danny Manning and the Miracles thing is about to happen with Dalton Knecht and the Volunteers. It did not happen, by the way. But Dalton Knecht, 9 3-pointers to tie the rookie record shared by 3 others. 9 3-pointers to the Lakers, on his way to 37 points in a Lakers win last night. That's choice number 2.
Okay.
Because he's obviously, what a nice cog for the Lakers to have in that wheel. They needed a shooter. They got themselves a shooter. Lakers beat the Jazz 124 to 118. Or the third choice, the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 15-0 before last night, the 15-0 Cleveland Cavaliers were down 21 to the defending world champion Celtics and got within 2 on 5 different occasions. Could never quite get over the hump, but still get the cover as they lose to the Celtics 120-117 in a game that closed 7. You and all y'all betting the Celtics last night.
Yeah, I was on that. That was a loser. 2 losers for me last night. That was a big game. Celtics win it. Did add the Celtics group winner play, so at least they won the game. So they're looking better in that situation. But yes, covered it and get home. To answer your question though,
yes,
it's kind of interesting because the Cavs are going to lose at some point. The Cavs losing to the Boston Celtics, which are the best team in the NBA, not a shocker to me. Dalton Connect is the biggest piece of news of the 3 you just went through, because if Dalton Connect can possibly do this at any level of consistency throughout the season for this Lakers team, they, as you kind of said, they add a dimension and another element to this team that they desperately need. It is not a luxury add for the Lakers. They need a player like this to be able to do things like this if they're actually going to go far in the NBA playoffs.
The Cavaliers, I think you might be right. It might be Connect, by the way, who is 3-1 to win Rookie of the Year. Only Jared McCain at plus 180 is shorter.
That is picks 17 and 18 in the draft.
That's
I believe.
Right. We couldn't believe that Connect fell to the Lakers in the draft.
And McCain's been awesome.
Zachary Risache, by the way, 7-1, the only other person in double digits. I don't know, man. The Cavs didn't have Okoro, Wade, or LeVert last night either against the Celtics, and they only lose by 3. That shouldn't be glossed over either.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. They're a great team. I don't know at what point I'm gonna really buy in. You and I have talked about this a fair amount. I wonder that, look, the coaching change has clearly made a huge difference. Mobley, just even how some of the players are acting. Mobley's drives to the basket per game are massive. That was an element that was missing from this team in years past. I don't know if all the pieces are there to make this go through the playoffs and work long term, but they've been a great regular season team for the past few years. I don't think there's any reason to believe. I mean, right now, Gill, they are the second best team in the Eastern Conference to me, and it would not be no shock if they finished the regular season that way.
Yeah. Unless they collapse. I mean, at this point, Kenny Atkinson is Coach of the Year, running away with it at this point.
I think so, yeah.
Kenny Atkinson, coveted by many teams with vacancies through recent history, and finally the Cavs get their man. Kenny Atkinson, even money. Steve Kerr and Joe Mazzulla, the next choices, both at 9-1. By the way, are you getting tired of the Joe Mazzulla act with the press? The attitude.
I am so tired of it.
I'm so tired of it. Like, I get it. You want a championship, now you can just have that attitude the whole time with him. Like, every question is treated with such smugness.
Yes. And there's always, don't get me wrong, some of his quotes are funny. Some of these guys that get these Phil Jackson-esque Zen quotes that you're just like, who's ever said this? And Mazzulla does this sometimes.
And Joe Mazzulla, you're allowed to smile. I know right. You might think it's not cool. You're allowed to smile.
It is interesting odds. I do not have a bet in this market. I mean, Kenny Atkinson obviously deserves to be the favorite. I don't know that Mazzulla or Kerr. I know JVT was high on Bud coming into the year. I don't Ime Udoka and JJ Redick still stick out.
Ime Udoka at 14-1 and JJ Redick at 18-1. Wow. Yeah. Okay, I did promise yesterday that I would have an NBA bet, and I do. Because we got into a discussion. Drew was here, Drew Dinsick, and we got into most improved player. Mm-hmm. I sort of let it out. I left it open. Hey, what awards in the NFL and then the NBA interest you? And he immediately launched into the NBA most improved player. He loves Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner currently at 7-1, the third
got
shot.
Shorter. Yeah.
Got a little shorter. Jalen Williams at plus 450, Jalen Johnson at plus 550, and there's Wagner at 7-1. My bet, Kelley, is on. A little unorthodox because it doesn't usually go to an older player. But I went with Norman Powell. Norm Powell of the LA Clippers at 18-1. Now, you're saying, man, an old player doesn't ever win most improved player. And you'd be right, by the way. That's the fly in the ointment here, right? This is an award that has gone to Lauri Markkanen, to Ja in his third year, I believe. Went to Giannis early in his career.
You do have one recent, though. One recent that it's not as old as Norman Powell, but Julius Randle winning
Julius Randle, that's right. That's the closest comp. But the reason I went with Norm Powell is He has improved his points per game by 10 points here in the early season, from 13 plus points a game to 23 plus points a game. That is a Markkanen-like jump. Wagner, only 3-point improvement. And I know all the advanced metrics with Wagner that Drew was pointing out yesterday. I concede that. But again, it gets down to what are the voters actually going to bet on? Are they deep diving into the metrics? Or are they just going to look at the fact that Norm Powell is just having a ridiculous, and again, it's only 17, 18 games. I get it. So this is, trying to get ahead of this. But I think this is a portent of things to come from Norm Powell throughout the season. He's also shooting. Now, here's what he can't possibly sustain.
Yeah.
He is shooting 47% from behind the arc. 47. I think it's 46.9 or something like that. But that is insanity. And you saw it, by the way, in full display against the Dubs the other night. But he has been incredible for the Clippers. Now, the other point that was made, one of the other points that was made by Drew was, well, but the Magic may end up with like the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And the Clippers are not going to get, by the way, the Clippers, I will concede, will not get anywhere close to a 3 seed in the Western Conference. But I don't believe that this award, historically or even should moving forward, I agree that it hasn't historically, been tied with a team's success in the standings. It's most improved player, right? And I do believe the big jump. Now, some other players we were talking about yesterday in this market, Grady Dick, second year, he's not going to get it.
Now, it's usually not garbage teams, but like that's Clippers fall in the middle. That's fine.
right.
Yeah,
not going to be a garbage team. Dyson Daniels' big 10-point jump in his points per game average, but it's from 5 to 15, not from 13 to 23. And as we've talked about in years past, you usually don't go from oblivion to mediocrity.
Yeah.
Or not mediocrity, but, being okay good.
19 to 24 is a much more significant jump than 6 points a game to 16 points a game.
LaMelo, we talked about yesterday, it's more about an injury. Jalen Williams, Jalen Johnson, all good, but the stats jump is not as dramatic as they are for Norm Powell. Jalen Williams is going to have to do more in the stat sheet, I think, to justify the plus 450 right now. That's my play. Norm Powell, 18-1 is what I got him at yesterday.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
If you haven't become a VSiN Pro subscriber yet, now's your chance to save big with early access to our Black Friday special. Sign up today, get VSiN Pro access to everything we do from now through May 1st for only $60. Sign up now and get access to daily best bets, unlimited access to our exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, premium analysis, and 24/7 video access, plus all our betting guides and best bets for the upcoming college football playoff, Super Bowl, and March Madness. Do not miss our best new subscriber offer of the year. It really is our best. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up on our Black Friday special now. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. Kelley wanted to say something else about most improved player?
Just wanted to run through a couple other of those. So I made a couple bets preseason, so I'm not looking to go crazy here. I've got Cade Cunningham at 22-1 and Christian Brown 40-1 already in the count. Cade Cunningham, I do think, is an interesting case. I do think that's when we start to talk about some of these teams, though, how good can they be to kind of at least get themselves out of that bottom, out of the cellar and into this conversation. I think you do have to have that at least a little bit. Benedict Mathurin is one that I think is flying under the radar a little bit, who I've had my eye on. He is on a Pacers team that, is going to be pretty good in the Eastern Conference. We're talking about that point jump, 14.5 points and 19.6 points, rebounds, 4 to 6.7. He's about 2 steals a game. Shooting the ball way better from 3-point territory, 46% on the season. He's quietly had a massive season for Indiana as Tyrese Halliburton's kind of struggled through the beginning part of the year. So if you're looking for someone a little bit longer number, that one does jump out to me. Jalen Williams, I agree with you. He was one of the preseason. Everybody loved him preseason, and it makes sense with Chet out, with Hartenstein out. They're playing him far more in different positions. He's going to rack up some stats he wouldn't normally. He should have some more rebounds. I love Jalen Johnson, just at that number is a little too short. I think your Norman Powell bet is very interesting because we just don't have – I love this market because there's so many guardrails for who to look at. And the Norman Powell one is a little bit different. We don't have as much historical stuff on that. So I like that bet. But Mathurin is a guy that I am eyeing up as well. I might be adding here soon.
Yeah. Should be fun to follow as the year goes on and see where these go right now. But I love the fact, again, that it's most improved. The actual language, so much more precise than comeback.
Yes.
Right. Comeback is so much more open and broad.
And it does. If we want to just go through the list, like real quick, we talk, Dyson Daniels. Okay. He's awesome. What he's improved, 5 steals. I think he's had 5 games this season with 5 steals. That's incredible. The Hawks have some guys coming back though from injuries. His playing time should go down a little bit, just enough that I think it's going to end up taking him out of the picture. We talked about the second year players. We talked about LaMelo Ball. In guys coming back from injury. This is a tough award for you to really get in the mix with that. So this is it's one of those awards, in my opinion, you can just start crossing names off the list, and it makes it a little easier, a little bit more valuable to bet into.
Coming up with the most improved player market winner is tough, Kelley. It's hard. You know what else is?
What's
also
that?
Picking fewest wins in the National Football League. That's hard. But hiring Morgan & Morgan is easy. If you're ever injured, you could check out Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is so easy. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets or pound law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. Speaking of NFL fewest wins, this market is great. As we sit here, 10, 11 games, depending on where you are, based on buys, whether you've had them or not in the National Football League season. And again, let me go through. Here are your candidates. Let's go to the bottom of the NFL standings. There's more candidates if you'd like to make more candidates, but here are your main teams, right? And we'll start with the best in terms of the record right now. The Chicago Bears are 4-6. Carolina and Dallas both 3-7. The Jets and Patriots are both 3-8. The Titans, Browns, Raiders, and Giants are all 2-8. And right now, the leader in the clubhouse, record-wise, is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-9. Okay, here is how I would like to start it.
Okay.
The 2-9 Jaguars, who currently have the worst record of the bunch, right, because they have one loss in pocket,
right,
more than 4 of the others do, they're not going to get this. And I know Mac Jones is not great at football, right, whether Trevor ever sees the field again or not. But the problem with betting Jacksonville here is that Jacksonville, in the remaining 6 games, among those 6 games are at Tennessee, home Jets, at Raiders, home Tennessee. So as bad as you might want to think Jacksonville is, and you'd be right, there's still a few wins available on that schedule. And so the likelihood of them getting there, again, bizarro world, them getting to the bottom, is unlikely. So I don't think that's the first thing I'd like to say is that the team with the worst record now is not a good bet.
Okay, I'm going to take one step back real quick. Do we agree that whoever wins this is on this graphic? Is on this list. The team is on this list.
100%.
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't think there was any other crazy outlier team.
No.
I agree with you on Jacksonville completely. I think that same logic carries over to the Tennessee Titans.
It does. The Titans play the Jaguars twice.
Yeah.
So the 2-8 Titans have, let's say they split that, right? And let's say they don't win any of the other games at Houston, at Washington, home Cincy, at Indy, home Houston. Let's just play around with that. Let's say they split with Jacksonville. They would end up 3-14. Possible, but that wouldn't be my bet either.
Yeah, me either.
My bet comes down to one of 2 teams.
Okay.
And I'm willing to take the longer shot of those 2 currently. Okay. It comes down, for me, it's between the Browns and the Giants. That's it. That's the list. Browns or Giants. And let me explain why. The Cleveland Browns are 2-8. The Giants are 2-8. So a half game behind, quote unquote, the Jaguars in this market, because the Jaguars are 2-9. Here's the Giants' remaining schedule is this. Tampa Bay at home this week. At Dallas, that's the one game that I bold-faced here, right? At Dallas, who they've lost to once already. Keep that in mind for tiebreaker purposes, if there is such in this thing, if it happens to be ruled that way. Then it's home New Orleans, home Baltimore, at Atlanta, home Indy, at Philly. Okay, So that Dallas game, to me, you're going to be a dog. First of all, you're going to be a dog in every single one of these remaining games. You've got Tommy DeVito now as your starting quarterback. People tend to remember Tommy DeVito far more favorably than he actually played.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a very strange thing.
He's one of those like loving NFL stories that nobody expected anything. So once he did completed a pass, we all got excited.
He had one great finish to a game, I believe it was, but he had two horrific performances along the way down the stretch. So the Giants at plus 450, I think, is my bet. Let me give the Cleveland Browns case, because the Cleveland Browns are the only other one I would
I've got
consider.
a team to add, but Cleveland is, to me, undeniable that they belong at least at the top of this.
Plus 350 is not a bad bet on the Browns either, and here's why. This game tomorrow, the Thursday night game tomorrow, with the Browns, what are they, 3.5-point favorites right now against the Steelers? Dogs, rather, pardon me. They are unlikely to be a bigger dog, a shorter dog than that the rest of the season. Cleveland's remaining schedule after tomorrow night's game is at Denver, at Pittsburgh, home Kansas City, at Cincinnati, home Miami. That might be the only one where it's around this number. At Baltimore. By the way, after reading through that, Cleveland at plus 350 might actually be a slightly better bet than the Giants at plus 450.
Okay, so
those are the only two teams I would consider. And that fulcrum game for the Browns is tomorrow night. Because if they lose that game tomorrow night, this number is going to shorten big time.
See, the one problem that you're overlooking with the Cleveland Browns, Gill Alexander, is that Jameis Winston's going to mess around and win a game or two that he shouldn't.
Maybe he might. He might.
You can't properly price the Jameis Winston factor, okay?
What's your third candidate?
Candidate? Worst team in football. I don't care what their schedule is. At 9-1, Carolina Panthers are staring me in the face. And that is... It's not like the schedule is simple. I mean, I think any schedule for the Carolina Panthers would not be simple. But you're talking Chiefs this week. You got 2 games with the Bucs. They need to win one of those. You're on the road at the Eagles. You got the Cowboys at home. I guess the Cowboys
at home is the bold-faced one. Yeah.
Cardinals, Bucs, and then Falcons to end the season. This is more of when I'm looking at 9-1 compared to half that price with some of these other teams, it's got me interested a bit.
They are 3-7 though, right?
Yes.
And so they have a game to make up, if you will, make up in quotes, bizarro market, against the Browns and the Giants, who are both 2-8.
They'd have to lose out, right? I mean, they'd have to lose out.
Yeah.
You need, I mean, 3, right? 3 wins is probably, I mean, it's probably going to be multiple teams tied with 3, and you're going to need a tiebreaker.
By the way, for those who are thinking to themselves, what about the Bears? There might not be a winnable game left on their schedule. Yeah, but they've got 4 wins already.
Right.
And make no mistake, the Bears have gotten close in a couple of these, right? Hail Mary, blocked kick. Even if they lose out, it's still 4-13. Whereas the Giants and the Browns, man, 2-15 are real possibilities. I like the Browns slightly better than the Giants, plus 350 versus plus 450. That is my thought on that.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
He's coming up later in the show, the CEO of Sport Trade, but just a friendly reminder that if you're the type of player who's looking to get down $10,000 or more on an NFL line at the best price in the market, or perhaps you're looking to get your in-game play instantly accepted, Sport Trade is the place for you, the app that's going to change sports betting. Minus 104 lines instead of the typical minus 110, instant in-game betting, and a concierge player service. Sport Trade, perfect for those who want a premium betting experience. Sport Trade live in New Jersey, Colorado, Iowa, Arizona, and now Virginia. Download Sport Trade. Use code VSiN to earn 10% cash back on each wager in your first week. Terms apply. Got to be 21 years or older to play. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Skill Alexander, we get tweets at Beating the Book. Should I Ron Burgundy through some tweets, Kelley? What do you think?
Sure.
It
always makes me feel comfortable.
I'm sure you're like, this can only go great. Let's see here. This is from James Sott. Also missing last night for the Cavaliers, Max Strus, who hasn't played all year for the Cavs. Of course, Porzingis missing 2, but missing all their wings didn't help. It was a fun, big game in November. Joe Arsu, I'm in town for the F1 race. There are a lot of bets that are very interesting. Any advice? Well, again, tomorrow. Oh, we didn't say again. I was just doing the promo for it, but I didn't say on air. Phil Bobbitt, the gentleman who was on before the F1 race last year and who crushed it, as I recall.
He crushed it.
Will be on the show tomorrow to talk about the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And let me just say this again, not only to talk bets tomorrow, but I just want to say this again. For all of the guff that we gave F1 for how they destroyed the city last year, this year, great.
I was I went out for dinner on the Strip last night. Navigating around actually wasn't all that big of a deal.
Nope.
Koval's completely closed, but the Strip's open. It's kind of cool, anyways, that you can just kind of drive where they're going to be racing.
Oh, never have you driven on a smoother surface in your life.
Right, like I drove on a racetrack last night.
Yeah,
like that's just a fact.
It does not allow me to make one specific turn when I go to work. There is that, but once you learn that, I just avert. But it's great. This is let's see, Andy V. Oh no, I'm gonna Ron Burgundy and Andy V tweet here. Can you ask notorious FSU hater and U of M fanatic Chris Felica, what more does Cam Ward need to do to win the Heisman? Took a 7-6 team last year to a 9-1 record on the doorstep of the playoffs while being the NCAA leader in passing yards with marginal NFL talent at wide receiver. Well, I will ask him that when he comes on Friday. Also, by the way, speaking of who's on Friday, because we do the Football Friday hour here with Felica, Fezzik, and Dr. Bob. Bob calls me yesterday. This is a true story. In the middle of the day, Bob calls me. Bob and I are great friends, but we rarely talk on the phone. So when he calls in the middle of the day, I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's up, Bob? Swear to God. 3.5 minutes after I say, what's up, Bob? What's happening? 3.5 minutes of Bob just launching, not even so much as a hello. Bob launches into, can you believe these people on Twitter who think Indiana shouldn't be in the playoff if they lose badly to Ohio State? 3.5 minutes. I barely get in 2 words. And at the end, he goes, good talking to you, buddy. That was the end of that. That was the whole conversation. So he's going to be on Friday. He is a national treasure. Good friend Chillionaire says my rookie of the year selection would have to be Stephon Castle, 22-1 at DraftKings. Haven't checked any other books yet. Long shots, he says. By the way, Castle, a player that LeBron James has already praised this year as well.
He's great. There's a lot of interesting rookies right now in the NBA. And there's not it feels like it's been a little while since we've had a wide open race like this, right? Yeah. So. And it's very wide open.
We have Matty Cox, by the way?
We do have Matty Cox.
Can I just read this one? Because this one goes after you for a second. Rich PSM.
Goes after me.
Russell Westbrook underappreciated. He got an MVP, but that team, along with all his others, didn't win a championship because he's always shot poorly too much. He's killed more good teams than built them. There you go. He didn't like your talk about Russell Wilson.
Yeah, okay.
Russell Westbrook.
Stat-wise, he's put up ridiculous numbers throughout his entire career. I'm just saying we're not going to really appreciate that. We remember that one season, what is that, 12 years ago now?
There you go. All right, ready to go? Matty Cox, ladies and gentlemen, for Three Man Weave. Let's talk some college hoops, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Matty Cox, one of the three-headed monster at Three Man Weave, with a cornucopia of pennants behind him. We got a little, South Florida, some FAU.
See the Owls.
Some Duke back there. What do we got? Indiana. Oh, what is that? Hawaii in the middle. Is that Missouri Valley State also?
It Valley State, Gill. I covered
State
last night, by the way. Went into the Octagon of Doom and got it done for backers. So yeah, shouts to my, as you called it, a potpourri of. I'm trying to complete it. We have some white space here. I just moved into a new remote office. The Three Man Weave doing very well as you can tell. So yeah, still in the work in progress phase, but we're getting there. Not quite as professional as what you guys have there, but close.
Your handicapping season is going well so far.
It's okay. I don't like to speak poorly or strongly about it until it's over. I'm very superstitious, but so far it's going fine, and I would be very okay if this pace continued the rest of the year. It never does. There's always annoying dips and unforeseen spikes. If you could just go 1 unit a day, it'd be great, but just not how gambling works. The variance monster doesn't allow that. So
no, I think about that from time to time. It's like, okay, if I could just win this, what you would consider a modest amount of money every day,
right?
It doesn't.
1 unit a day keeps a doctor away. That's my motto.
Let me ask you this, because I asked this of your buddy James Patrick Root when he was on. What futures do you have in pocket yourself here in November?
Well, I have a couple I hate. Wake Forest was a big position I took to win the title. So these are all to win title. Wake Forest at 250-1. They could, I don't know, Cincinnati, who I really like. I have them at 200-1. Texas Tech, who I think Jim was also beating the drum for. That's probably my favorite position. I have them at 125-1. And then I took some UAB, Grand Canyon, and then Xavier as well. Those are the other three that are just okay. So yeah, Jim's better at the futures than me. I got burned on the last couple of years. I think my problem was if you bet too many of those favorites, you kind of erode you have to be more selective, and I think you kind of have to skew away from the top 20 the whole percentages and the sort of the value you get in the top 20 is tough. You have to really kind of get in that 20 to 50 range, teams that you think can launch into the top 20. And that's kind of, I think, how you accumulate your value. Also buying them throughout the year, right? I mean, preseason, you tend to get better value on teams that you like at a dip during the season, right? December, November, after a tough loss or a bad streak. I think that's when you got to being patient pays off in the futures market.
Let me ask you about a few results that have already occurred. Then we'll get to your plays today. Alabama loses at Purdue, if I'm not mistaken, which is not the most shocking thing in the world. Arizona loses to Wisconsin. Duke, obviously, on a grander stage, losing to Kentucky, even after Cooper Flagg had a great game, but then 3 possessions not so well at the end there. What matters the most of all of those to you, or are all these just early season blips?
Early season, you hear these coaches talk, and more than ever, it feels like, especially these non-conference games in November, right? Like as you get into December, and sometimes you get these non-conference battles in January, February, where it's like getting closer to the end of the year. And I think the coaches put more stock in how their team's playing late in the season, especially now when you have so much player turnover, where to hear guys like, Buzz Williams and, Matt Painter and Hubert Davis, like talk about how it's like, they don't really care about losing these early season games. They just don't, right? They want to see their guys in high pressure environments, and whatever happens. And I don't know if that's, how it always used to be, but it does feel like there is, I try to keep myself from putting too much stock in what happens early in these big non-conference tilts, especially on the neutral sites in early November. I think there's more noise there than signal. There's always exceptions, as we saw with UConn and how dominant they were in their MTE efforts the last 2 seasons before kind of struggling, through conference play. But generally, I think there's more noise than signal in those games.
Since I bring up Flagg, is there anyone in the Wooden Award market that you would dare bet at this point besides him?
No. I think the prices are tough. You really have to find an upshot guy with major, a guy who can be on a top 4 seed or a Cinderella darling at large team that just sets the world on fire with production. I don't really see a ton of those guys this season. I think it's a very open race. It's a tough market to bet because you have so many of these top teams with a ton of depth. Like there's not clear cut alphas, leading producers. It's one of the hardest markets in the futures that I've tried to bet historically. I think it's only got harder. So that's when I didn't touch the 10-foot pole. And honestly, I don't even think Flagg's a great value bet. I think there's a ton of other weapons on that Duke team that I don't think his scoring production is going to always be gaudy. I think he's sort of impact the game in many different ways, and maybe not always in the stat stuffing ways that you need to really have a good case for a player of the year, points, rebounds, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was watching, and probably the best college basketball game of the season so far was that College of Charleston double overtime game.
Oh, yeah.
And the kid from College of Charleston, whose name escapes me right now, but he plays for College of Charleston, right? So you can't even consider betting someone like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you land on today?
I got a couple of dogs. It's funny, all of these big favorites, and you've probably talked to this with Jim, or you've seen this in the market for those bets. I mean, they've really been taking a lot of money early this season. Like for example, I was looking at Merrimack, a new addition to the main board, by the way. Shouts to Merrimack and Joe Gallo making the big upgrade to the 3-digit, not 6-digit listing on the big board. They're playing Rutgers, young team that's a little bit banged up and can't score. I did take first half there, but again, market was all over Rutgers early, so I should get a better price there on first half. The other one I did take first half was San Jose State. There's been some buyback, but USC took big money early. I think Timmy Miles is a dog against Eric Musselman. I think that's a plus EV bet.
So Rutgers and San Jose State, both first half bets.
Merrimack and San Jose State. So I'm taking the favorites in both. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Merrimack and San Jose State. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Matt Cox from 3-Man Weave. Thank you.
No, thank you, fellas. Take care.
You too. Ante Berzovic, by the way, the player from College of Charleston I was referring to. JVT to talk some NBA and all his other bets next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle. Save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS. Minimum purchase may apply. Skill Alexander, we get tweets at Beating the Book. Logic 3227, yo. Every time Norm Powell hits a 3, the whole crowd should yell Norm like on the TV show Cheers. Yeah, they should. Jason H11, as a diehard Giants fan, of course I have a Giants worst record bet at 10-1. Let's go Tommy Cutlets. I love the Giants self-defeatist, self-hate bets. Yeah. Those are great.
Do you have a bet in that market at all?
No, I don't.
I do have the Patriots from before the season.
I don't. Does it exist in town?
Great question. Probably
I don't
not.
think it does.
It wasn't up for DraftKings for multiple weeks. Remember, we kept talking about wanting to talk about it. It wasn't posted anywhere.
DraftKings is where we were quoting the numbers from. Let's see. Scott, New York Mess 16. As a Commodes fan, Gill's hatred of the Giants is appalling. But as a Giants fan myself, I agree completely. Plus 450 it is. So great. Let's see. The numbers guy. Tiebreaker rules on those NFL awards? When does the NBA season officially kick off? He asks you, Kelley. Says, I want to say April. I always mix it up with MLB opening day. Wow, NBA hate. And let's say Chris Heath killing me with the Pioneer call with that Dr. Bob story from yesterday. Motor City Mike, I'm very fond of my Cade Cunningham most improved player ticket at 25-1. He's bordering on a nightly triple-double threat, and the Pistons could make the play-in. Just added Norm 16-1. Let's go.
I like it, window casher. Let's go. I like it.
Let's bring in JVT to chime in.
Oh, he's got thoughts.
Yeah, Jonathan Von Tobel, everybody. Not only co-host of VSiN tonight, but also, listen, he's our NBA senior analyst, and he's got thoughts on many an award market. Most improved player is what we were batting around here, JVT, and I want you to tell me if I'm way off on this, but I bet Norm Powell yesterday at 18-1. You tell me why I'm wrong.
I mean, I don't think you are. I think this is just really just about how do the voters view him. I think Kelley and I and Zach Cohen were actually chatting about this a couple of days ago in our group chat, which is just like, what do you do as a voter, or how do the voters view certain guys when it comes to most improved? And I asked the question, do you view them from the prism of this is what this guy was the year before and what he is now, or what he is now in comparison with what he has been throughout the entirety of his career? But either way, Norm Powell fits it, right? Yeah. I mean, the guy is, for a career, averaging 12.6 points per game. He's at 23.3 this year. Last year, he averaged just 13.9. Again, upwards of 23 points per game. He's taking on a much more massive role as an everyday starter. I think that he fits all of the criteria as a most improved player. And while he is very long in the tooth, right? Like we're talking about 2015, 2016 was his first year. We do have at least some precedent that like the older guys have won the award. Most recently, Julius Randle, if you remember, in about his 6th year, something like that, 7th year, ended up winning in New York over Jeremy Grant that season. So they are willing to give it to guys who have been in the league for a relatively long time. So I do think that he is pretty viable. The thing that has kept me from it is just that, like, will the voters just say, he's been here forever, he doesn't really count, and we're going to make some arbitrary parameter as to why he cannot win this award? And that would be the only thing that worries me. But like, if I had a vote, he's definitely inside of my top 5 guys that I'm watching for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting case. I think that's my only slight hesitation too, is we have so many of these guys in the league, right, JVT, of the kind of the 6th man guys that we always know how teams are going to utilize them. And that was Norm Powell forever. And do we just look at it more now? He's just getting more shots. There's more quantity, more minutes, and then the stats are coming along. I don't think he's going to be punished for that, but it's an interesting case. I don't mind the bet either. It's interesting.
And I think too that the part of the conversation around him too is, so there's a couple of things. The first of which is, if you go back to 2020, 2021, when he was with Toronto, remember, he was a 20-point game per game scorer that year for the Toronto Raptors. He averaged about 16 the year prior, 17 the year after that. Like, he's been in this nexus of like 20-point per game scorer and nearly starting role almost every single night. So again, will they look at that and go, we've seen this from him before, this does not count? And the other part is, like, let's take my guy, for example. I've got Jalen Johnson at 14-1 to win this thing. When you say most improved, Do you weight the guy who's been in the league for as long as Norm Powell has been making this leap more than the fourth-year player who is making a very strong leap to potentially being like, cornerstone, best player on his team next to Trae Young kind of guy? That's the other question of how voters view those leaps. Is the young guy making a leap in his fourth year more of an adequate leap, more improvement than the guy who's just been in the league a long time and getting just more minutes and more volume?
I think you're exactly right with all of that, John. I think it does come down to how the voters, each individual one of these guys will and girls will decide what means the most to them. What is the definition of that? Everything you say applies there. The only other thing I will add to this, and we'll move on, get your picks, but Powell was also a sixth man of the year candidate a few years ago, couple of years in a row.
Constantly. Yeah.
Couple years in a row, he finished fourth. And I do wonder if there's a little muscle memory in that. We're like, well, we didn't give him that, so maybe we should consider him more seriously for this.
I do think the biggest check mark you have is the Julius Randle. At least we can point to that and say, hey, 100%. It hasn't always been a third, fourth year guy.
100%, because that is the fly in the ointment. Yep.
Two, he's not a second-year guy, so we're not going to make up that stupid rule where we can't vote for him. So remember that.
You mean Grady Richard, as I like to call him, isn't a possibility? Is what you're trying to say?
Yep. Him, technically, Victor Wembanyama, excuse me, Chet Holmgren, even though he's injured. So I drew a line through him early, although he was up there too. So, yeah, these guys, as long as they're not in their second year, we expect them to make massive leaps, even though some of them are absolutely transcended second-year leaps. Whatever.
What was the deal in the 70s that everybody named Richard just took that nickname? It was very strange.
I've got an uncle with that name. Yeah. Never understood it.
Never understood it.
Whole different podcast. Okay. John, who do you have in the NBA tonight? Not a cup night, but a regular night, if you will.
Yeah. Just means a little bit more on those cup nights, So I think a downturn in play a little bit later this evening. No, so the only thing that I've got here, Atlanta and Golden State. I think Kelley's in on this potentially too. Golden State's an 8-point favorite. Total's 239. But here's the thing. I actually haven't bet anything yet. What I want to do here is I'm going to wait for this game to start in game and see if I can get a cheap price. I do like Golden State tonight, but when you look at the non-Curry minutes, one of the things that has really stuck out is their offense has really dropped off a lot. You go back to a couple of games, for example, just last week, guys, the reason why Steph Curry had such an incredible moment against the Dallas Mavericks is because Steve Kerr took him off the floor at the start of the fourth quarter and they immediately went into a hole and he had to come back with some heroics. And I think some in-game strategies with this team is trying to find some spots where they're either down or that number comes down a little bit when those bench units really start to take hold. Because remember, we're talking about this team not only because they're great, but because they're doing something unique. They have this 12-man rotation that Curtis doesn't really want to budge from, and you kind of understand why. But I think that has presented a lot of different in-game opportunities to find this Warriors team at a cheaper price. So Warriors are on the radar. And I do think that they're going to be worth it, but I want to see if I can get that number cheaper when we get to an in-game standpoint. And then later tonight to also Orlando and LA, the Clippers and the Magic. We saw this total open up at 207.5. We're down to 206.5. I bet under 207. So I think this one's going to get ugly. Two really good defensive teams. I sent this stat to Kelley and Zach earlier. The two best on-ball defenders at the guard position and the two best wing defenders are all on the Orlando Magic. This team is great. This Clippers team stinks on offense. I think this is going to be a pretty ugly game tonight.
We want to get to your favorite college football and your favorite pro football play. Real quick, though, I'll ask you what I asked Kelley at the beginning, which is bigger story last night. Connect scoring 37 on the strength of 9 threes for the Lakers, or the fact that the Cavs, even without 3 players, kept it super close against the Celtics, almost came all the way back from 21.
I mean, I think it's probably connected just because Rookie of the Year seems to be so wide open, right? There has not really been a candidate that has separated himself entirely from the pack. And so any good performance is going to push a guy like Connect, who's been credible, not just last night, into the stratosphere of potential contenders. So I think it's Connect.
Who would have possibly thought he would have been a better pick than where he went, for God's sakes. We all thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. All right, favorite college football play this week is?
Okay, so I think there's a lot, but I'll focus on Air Force. Air Force is on the road. They're taking on Nevada this week. And there's this thought that I've talked about here on Primetime, guys, where, look, Air Force, if you remember, was rebuilding everything essentially. The entire roster was gutted. I think they brought about 4 starters back. They started off the year terribly. But this service academy is starting to get continuity. These guys that don't have experience are starting to get experience, and we're really starting to see it. They beat up Fresno State. They absolutely demolished Oregon State. I think this team is getting better and peaking at the right time, and I think they're worth riding. So looking at Air Force to win outright as an underdog on the road in Reno is very much a bet worth making. So I took Air Force this weekend.
All right, favorite NFL player, or would you like to pass on the NFL and give a second college?
Come on, you know where I'm at here. I've been having a good read on this team. Give me the points with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson.
I wish I could have bet on that.
7.5.
I wish I could have bet on that. JVT, a renowned Colts fan, but he wants the points here against the Lions. Okay. John, thank you. I appreciate it as always, man.
Thanks for talking to me, guys. Appreciate it.
Jonathan Von Tobel, everybody, at MeJVT, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Alex Kane's going to join us on the other side, the CEO of Sport Trade. We got Jason Weingarten coming up, talking some baseball awards with us. Tim Murray, college football. It's a numbers game at VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network.